We're getting ready to fly the Eagle with Walksnail, which is sitting right out there. Got my video receiver right out there. Radio right here. The Yapu telemetry script running. Everything's ready. I just need to power up the transmitter.
Camera on.
And give it just a second to start up. We should see the video link up there in OBS, as well as my monitor right over here. I'm recording over here on the PC with OBS. And there we have a video signal and OSD. I actually need to move my OSD. So give me just a minute. I need to correct the OSD on the screen. So as you can see, it's kind of over here in this area. I need to shift it up. So I did change the font. I forgot about that. And once we correct that, I will get everything in the air. So I'll be right back. Alright, so now everything has been corrected. You can see my OSD is kind of looking normal on the screen there. So I will go ahead and start recording in OBS. And once I arm the airplane, which I'll go ahead and do now, you should see right up here, these start flashing to show that they're recording, which they are. And we're connected to the Crossfire with Mission Planner just to track it on the map. So everything's good to go. So let's go ahead and go out here and launch it. Motor runs, everything looks good. So we'll go ahead and switch to flight mode 4, which is to launch.
Take off.
Now the airplane is away. Alright, so we're out flying now, obviously. We're flying in fly-by-wire A at the moment. We're going to switch over to cruise in just a second here.
Cruise.
And I've already seen an improvement in the amp draw at cruise. I noticed my OSD is kind of flickering a little bit. I'm not sure exactly why or what, but it seems to have kind of calmed down a bit now. But yeah, we're cruising at a lot lower power than we were with the old power system. And probably part of that is because we have no landing gear. As you can see, we can look back, we have no wheels sticking out there. You probably noticed when we took off, the landing gear is gone. If you've been following, you know that I kind of lost the landing gear, the nose wheel in the last landing. So I just kind of went ahead and set it up as a belly lander for now. And I've also switched to a different motor and propeller and speed controller. And this is the iFlight Zing E Pro, I think. The same 2306, same size motor, but it's a slightly higher kV. The stock one I want to say was like 2300 or something like that, 2250 maybe. And this one's 2450. I think the stock was 2300 and this one's 2450, but I could be wrong on those numbers. But it is slightly higher kV than what we had before. And we're running a 5x4.5, I think, 3-bladed HQ prop. Just something that seemed kind of close to what was recommended for this motor. And yeah, we're just kind of flying Walksnail, getting a feel for it. I'm actually going to gain a bit of altitude. I want to climb. We're just over 200 feet now. I'm going to climb up to about 300 or so. I don't want to get too high because the air is a little bit smooth down here. It's kind of flying nice. But I will climb up to around 300 or so. And we'll level off here. And we're just going to kind of head out along this this area out here, this kind of little point on the wooded area just ahead, this corner just ahead. We're going to head there. It's kind of where my antennas are pointed right now, that general direction on the receiver, and that should get us 2 miles. We're currently 1.4 or 1.36, 1.38 now. Actually this first corner is not 2 miles, it's the far corner back here along this little tree line, which is going to land us right at 2 miles. And you see we're picking up a little bit of rough air, not real bad, but everything so far looks really good. Really happy with it. Happy with the way it feels and looks. We're showing down on the bottom of the screen there right now 5 megabits per second. Back up to 12 now. Just kind of feeling out. It's first real flight I've done with Walksnail. Like I said, my previous attempt ended rather short when the motor and speed controller burned out. But today's goal is just to get it in the air, fly it, see how it works, and kind of just wanted to see if I could do 2 miles, which seems like we're going to have no problem. We're still holding at 12 megabits per second right now. And we're at 1.95, 1.98, and there's 2 miles. So rather than fly out over the wooded area, I'm going to go ahead and turn back towards home. And we're just going to kind of play it safe for now. Because like I said, I'm not 100% sure this motor system is going to keep working. I want to stay out over the open fields that are going to make it easier to recover the airplane should I find myself in that situation. But I don't expect to. But like I said, you never are expecting it. And you see now that we've turned around, pointed back home, we're actually holding like 25, 24 megabits per second on the link, which is almost maxed out. I'm currently running it in 1080p resolution and 60 frames per second at 25 megabits per second bitrate. And it's basically the stock settings. The 60 FPS and 25 megabits per second is stock. The only thing, this default I think is 720p. I raised it to 1080 just because I can. And I did bump the power up to the full 1200 milliwatts. Now there seems to be some kind of mixed opinions on that. Some say that 700 milliwatts is more stable. I do notice my bit rate is kind of varying a little bit. See, we're back down to 12, and as soon as I said that, it's right back up to 25, 24. People seem to suggest that, and when I say people, I mean people in the Discord for Walksnail that have been flying a bit more than I have more experience with it. Mostly multi-rotors, but I don't really think it matters what craft you have it on, but they seem to suggest that everything seems to be a little bit more stable and reliable on lower power, 700 milliwatts, without much reduction in range, if any. But I did bump it up to 1200 just to see, and so far it seems fine. And I'm only looking at the numbers, that 25 megabits per second there. As far as image quality and the way it feels and everything, I've not noticed a single degradation of video quality. It hasn't really dropped the image quality at all, or got any lag or dropped frames or anything. Everything just feels perfectly fine to me, and I have nothing to complain about there. I'm kind of wondering if the flickering OSD might maybe stabilize a little bit, and if I drop that output power, which we may do in the future in another flight. But even that's not a big issue. We're gonna kind of fly out this way a bit. I'm just kind of noticing right down here the water in the woods straight ahead. I kind of caught a little reflection, some glare from the sun through there. It's just kind of something I wanted to fly out here and look at, and in doing so, it's going to put us off the side of my antennas, which were aimed out more east and less south. And I just want to kind of see how it handles that situation. And I do notice the bit rate is still bouncing around between 11, 12, and then on the upper end 24, 25, which 25 is the max with the current setup. So as far as antennas right now, like I said, on the transmitter, I do still have the stock transmitter antennas, which have a reputation for being less than good. And kind of think I might be able to get a little bit of improvement if I change those out for some better ones. But for now, I just wanted to leave it stock and see how it goes. And for the receiver, I'm using the built-in patch antennas. I think they're patched. If they're patches, they're circular patches, but whatever they are. They're the built-in directional antennas on the front of the VRX unit, and on the SMA connectors on the top, rather than the included unidirectional, omnidirectional, whatever antennas, I'm using 2 small triple feed patch antennas, not the larger arrays or dinner plates, as some people call them. They're the smaller ones, which I believe are around 8 or 9 dB, which the built-in Walksnail antennas in the receiver is something like 7.5, if I remember right. So I figured it would be a pretty good match to pair with that and see how it worked out. But so far, I'm really, really happy with the way everything's performing, just flying out a couple of miles from home like we want it to do. You can see I'm pushing the nose down right now. We're kind of losing some altitude. I want to get down a little bit lower. I want to get down around 100 feet or so, and then kind of cruise out over the cow pasture area back this way and see how things work there. And what we may actually do is land really quick and drop that transmit power, or maybe not. I'll save that for another flight. I was going to say we could land real quick and run out there and drop the transmit power and see how it compared, see if the OSD became a little bit more stable. But we'll leave it alone for now and see how it goes. But as far as image quality, I mean, this is pretty amazing, to be honest. I mean, look at the detail and the smooth frame rate and the light handling and everything just feels really good. It you know, I mean, I've heard the term many times before. It feels like you're flying through a GoPro when you fly Walksnail or DJI HT systems, and it kind of really does, to be honest. That's probably a good way to describe it. I am curious about my flickering OSD though, because I haven't really seen that in other people's footage flying with the system. But yeah, let me turn off a couple of elements. I can turn off my AHI and HDOP as well as the efficiency number. Just put a few less elements on the screen anyway, and it doesn't really seem to have changed much. I do still see some flickering, so we'll go ahead and turn those back on. So you see we're starting to drop down kind of in the single digits on the megabits per second, the bit rate there. I've seen it dropping down around 7 or so. Now I did gain a little bit of altitude. I climbed up to about 120 feet or so just to make sure we clear these trees. So I do want to fly low out this direction and see how it looks. I'm really happy with the detail you get in the image. So everything is sharp without feeling like it's over sharpened. It just seems like a really high resolution detailed image. Pretty happy with that, to be honest. So we're just going to kind of repeat this path right out here, kind of like we did a minute ago. And what we might do is fly out to the south, which would be kind of to the left of where we're going right now, and get off the side of those antennas intentionally just to see how it handles that. So far, I've not been able to get it to drop image quality at all. It's just kind of pretty shocking, actually. And I say that based on my past experience flying 5.8 analog systems out here. 5.8 has just never really been a contender for me. It's just kind of acceptable at best in the best case scenario. And I kind of expected this to work about the same, but honestly, it feels really good. Feels kind of amazing, really. So whatever they're doing in the background to keep a stable image through whatever RF performance is happening over the RF link that it has to work with, it's pretty good. I keep using the word amazing, but I think it's a pretty accurate way to describe how I feel about it right now. The one thing we haven't done, which I don't have any reason to think that it wouldn't work, but I haven't tested return to home, which is kind of my bailout. If something does go wrong here, I'm going to kind of end up relying on return to home to get the airplane back towards home anyway. So I think once we clear the trees right here, once we clear this little point, we're going to go ahead and switch to return to home. We'll do that now.
Return to launch.
And the airplane should climb and then start circling my rally point, which is set just south of where we took off from. So with this low amp draw, we've been flying for 15-ish minutes or so and just used 1,000 milliamp hours out of the battery. So between the different power system and switching the landing gear, I don't know how much each change contributed to the improvement, but I am definitely seeing an improved performance as far as the efficiency. Now, as the airplane is flying overhead, because we're flying right down there in the little white shop right there, I do hear the airplane overhead, and normally I can't. It's nowhere near as quiet as it was before, which leads me to believe that a different prop could still maybe milk out a little bit better efficiency that I'm seeing right now. But quite honestly, I'm more than happy with this, and this will work for now. And we may tweak some things in the future, but for now, I'm very happy with it. So we'll go ahead and let it continue this circle right here. And then we're going to maybe get down low and fly out over the cows some more out there. And just kind of start pushing the limits a little bit as far as the stable link. So what we'll actually do is
Cruise.
I'm going to go back to cruise, and I'm going to fly up the bayou here and see how it works, because I almost always lose video when I fly along the bayou here. It's just a really fun thing to do, and you can kind of look down into the bayou and see some things a little bit more than the flat feels anyway, but it always drops the analog video signal out here, even on my 1.3 systems, which is why I don't really fly the bayou very much. And I do see the bitrate kind of fluctuating a little bit. It's dipping down and coming back up. And of course, as I say that, well, there we're back to 12 now. But it's kind of bouncing around between 12 and 25, kind of like it was before. But even so, like I said, even as the link tends to drop down, I'm assuming the link is dropping. That's why the bitrate, the megabits per second there, is kind of fluctuating. I'm assuming it dips as the signal quality drops. But even as it does that, if it wasn't for that number there on the screen, I couldn't tell. Put it like that. Everything just looks perfect. And even now, as we're flying along up here, we've never lost any video or any image quality or anything of that sort. So I'm quite happy with it. If you can't tell by now, I'm 100% pleased with the Walksnail system, and I do highly recommend it. And of course, I'll have a link below, like I have in my previous Walksnail post, and it is an affiliate link. It's affiliate straight through Caddx, so if you use them, it'll be a sale that I referred if you order through that affiliate link from Caddx. And I forget what the minimum is. You have to reach a minimum value of earnings on that link before you're able to cash it in. So I kind of question whether or not I'll actually ever be able to cash it in, but it's still fun to work towards. And who knows, maybe I'll hit the goal and be able to cash it in one day and get some more cool new Walksnail gear and outfit another airplane. So we do have another transmitter and camera combo, the air unit, but I don't know what I'm going to put it in yet. Haven't really thought about it yet. Kind of want it to fly it in this one first. And I don't know, like I said, if I'm able to ever cash in on that affiliate link, maybe I'll buy a third system and outfit another airplane, because I honestly do want this in more airplanes now that I've flown this one for, 18 minutes now. If I wasn't sold before, I already am. I'm really happy with it. I'm kind of looking at my GPS numbers there. It is kind of bouncing around a little bit between 18 and 15 satellites. But although I was just kind of banking in that turn while it was dropping, losing some, it's been sitting pretty much at 18, 17 satellites for most of the flight, which is about as good as I ever see from this one. This is a BN880 GPS and compass module mounted on the tail behind the motor. And there was some concern that the GPS might have issues. The Walksnail receiver does tend to kind of step on your GPS signal. And some of the guys putting it into small quads kind of saw some problems with that. But it seems just a little bit of separation is all you need. It's like I said, I have, I don't know, maybe 8-10 inches or so between my GPS receiver on the tail behind the motor and the transmitter in the canopy. And I'm getting a really fast lock on the ground, and it's holding a good lock and good HDOP value in the air. I haven't noticed any GPS problems, basically. That's what I'm kind of getting at. So a little bit of separation in an airplane seems to be all you need to fix that. So you can see the dynamic range I was kind of a little bit worried about based on some of the early videos I had seen with Walksnail, but some of the previous, or most recent rather, firmware updates seems to have improved the camera performance a lot. I just want to point out right now that I'm actually flying behind my antennas right now, and the signal is still really nice, no issues. So before we talk too much about what I was going to say there, I want to finish talking about the firmware and the camera quality, because I wanted to point out before I am running the latest beta firmware, which I don't quite remember the name right now. I think it's like 32 point something or whatever. I don't know. I'll try to remember to put it up on screen, and if not, just remind me in a comment. Just ask me in a comment and I'll look it up and find out and answer you. But as of the date of this video, it is the current latest firmware, which you can get from the Walksnail Discord, which is where they post the beta firmware updates. So what I was going to point out a minute ago, flying around behind my antennas like that in front of the house, I'm not able to get the same level of performance as far as a stable image with even my high power 1.3 gigahertz analog systems, which in my opinion, it should perform quite a bit better than 5.8. But whatever Caddx and Walksnail are doing with this system as far as managing a stable image over the RF link that's available, I am 1000% sold and impressed with it. And like I said, dare I say, for this little close range kind of cruising around flying that we've done today, this is, I want to say, as good as any analog system I've flown in this same area, but dare I say better, because I don't have an analog system in my fleet that'll fly where I'm flying right now without losing at least one frame of video. I mean, this is kind of super impressive, to be honest. So let me actually fly directly over my antenna, which we are right now, and nothing. It just feels great. So I can see why, how you would want this on a quad, where you're just kind of blasting around close range all around your antennas and everything. I can see how this would be like totally next level stuff. So what I'm actually going to do now, I'm going to get right down on the deck. Well, let's say right down on the deck. We're going to get down below 50 feet. And we're just going to push it out here a little bit, because we are about halfway through the battery now. We're running a 3500 4S1P 18650 pack, the little Titan batteries that I usually fly in here. Now I don't like to push them all the way to 3000. I usually like to land at about 2500 or so. So we're going to kind of level off. I say we're going to get below 50. We're about 31 feet according to the OSD. 30. Let's call it 30 feet. And you can see we're kind of right down on the deck. And kind of gives you an idea of how it handles motion in the frame too. So we're going to kind of cruise out here below 50 feet. And we might climb up back to about 50 feet or so. Make sure we clear all the fences and anything out in this area. But we're going to cruise out here and see how it handles poor RF conditions. I'm trying to get it to lose the image quality a little bit just to see how it looks, see how it feels, and I can't do it. I like being able to see all those birds that seem to be kind of cruising along with us. They seem to be interested. Couldn't do that on analog. You couldn't make out enough detail to see the small birds like that. I could see them in my HD recordings after a flight, but I could never see them in the analog. So, yeah, we're probably going to end up hitting a mile. Pretty confident that we're going to make it to a mile at 30 feet. And I hear my radio buzzing right now. I've actually lost the telemetry on Crossfire. And when I say I hear buzzing, I hear the speaker buzzing. And this road puts us right at a mile, by the way. So we just hit a mile. And yeah, we're pulling the full power on the Crossfire module, which is set to 2 watts right now. It's pushing 2 watts, but only because it's lost telemetry. So telemetry signal has dropped out here. And looking at my feed on Mission Planner, we did get a little blip of telemetry as we crossed the road, because that's the last update we have. But I don't have a telemetry connection right now. And we're 1.3 miles out and still holding 25 megabits. And we're coming up on this little wooded area. The shorter, smaller woods, we're actually going to have to gain a bit of altitude to make sure we're going to clear those nicely. So we're going to hop back up to about 50 feet or so. Well, we hit about 60, almost 60. I know that's not enough to clear the tall trees to the right, but we should be able to clear the low trees here. So I'm just kind of pay attention and focus on that. Make sure we don't run into something out here. And just see if we can keep pushing it, because we're still holding 25 megabits. At 52 feet of altitude. And should we find ourselves needing return to home to save the airplane, if we suddenly lost video or anything like that, it should climb straight ahead before turning to come back home. So we won't end up in the trees to the right, but if we start getting close to those at the far end of the field out here, or this little wooded area, we will have to gain some altitude or change our heading before we get there, because 50 feet is not enough to clear those. Kind of curious if we can make it to 2 miles out here at this low altitude. And it definitely looks like we will. What we're going to do is, well, I mean, this is 1 mile and 9/10. I'm going to go ahead and just change my heading so that we don't run into those trees straight ahead. Now, flying north like this is probably going to be less than ideal for the video, or the RF signal anyway, the video signal. And I do see we did drop a little bit. I noticed a little bit of pixelation in the sky right back there during that turn. And the bitrate had dropped to like 12 megabits. But as soon as we level out, it came right back up. So I guess it was just during that turn. So yeah, we're 2 miles right now, and we're getting off center of the antennas too. And now you see that pixelation in the sky there. I see a little bit there. So it is starting to finally drop the image quality a little bit. Yeah, we're starting to see some reduction in quality there, and bitrate is starting to drop out a little bit. And like I said, we are probably dropping our antennas. Yeah, I'm kind of starting to feel a little bit of lag right there. Yeah, I'm feeling it now. And that's because there's a curve in the bayou right up there that, flying in this direction, puts a big metal shop between me and my receiver. So as you can see, I've kind of climbed back up to 100 feet or so, and we're just going to get back south. And we're all the way down into the single digits there for the image quality. And we noticed it kind of stuttered a little bit one time, and we're right back up. As you can see, kind of looking out here, that little shop that sits right where my crosshair is right now is kind of, we probably just got that out from between us and the receiver. So to kind of show you what I'm talking about, I'm going to kind of fly out back out this way. And probably want to start heading that direction back home anyway. We're at 2,000 milliamp hours, well, 1,900 milliamp hours on the battery. So we probably want to head back this direction. Just to make sure that we play it safe and land early enough. And we've been flying for 28 minutes. And I've definitely seen what I wanted to see with this little airplane, and it has pretty much exceeded all my expectations as far as the Walksnail system goes. And I could not ask for more, and I'm totally happy with it. And I'm kind of already thinking about what we're going to do with the other transmitter, because we're going to need another airplane that we can push it farther than this one, obviously. Either that or put a bigger battery in this one. Obviously we didn't push as far, as much range as we have in this little plane, but like I said, I don't want to stretch it out too far right now until I kind of regain confidence in the power system, being that we burnt the motor and speed controller on the last flight and just had to replace those. So yeah, as you can see, this big white metal shop right here is what I was kind of talking about. Because if you see that little dark spot on the far point of the field right under the little center point on the AHI right now, that's home, and this metal shop was between us when we were out flying low, going too far north. And as soon as we went back south enough to get this shop away from us, or get away from the shop anyway, where it's not blocking the signal, everything came right back. So that's what it takes to make it start losing image quality. Is absolute worst case scenario, the worst you can kind of dream up for it. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and gain a little bit of altitude, and we're going to get back over the bayou again. We're going to make another run up the bayou because we can. Kind of enjoy doing that, which we really were not able to do. At least not well with analog. You can see the bayou is actually fully blocked up with all this old growth. It's normally green, but it's all dead now as recent freezes have killed it all. But it's these, I think they call them hibiscus. Could be wrong about that. It's some green water lilies that grow and they kind of smother out all the fish, and it's just bad all around. But once we get up here close to home, you can see it's actually completely blocked up all the way across the bayou. And watch that tree. That tree is a little taller than the rest of them, which is why I gained a little bit of altitude to fly out here. And there's another tall one right up here before we get home, also on the left bank. So we'll just kind of stay out this way, make sure we stay clear of it, which we should clear it at 140 feet, but not 100% sure how tall it is. Yeah, you can see there's actually a couple of them there, and this other one tall one right here is the one I was thinking about. But yeah, you can see that stuff in the bayou there. It's completely choked up the entire bayou. And that little trail through there that you can see a little glare in the water, that's actually where some boats with surface drive is the only thing that can run through there, where they passed. Actually left a neighbor's house over there and passed. I saw them the other day. That's what cut a trail through there. But anyway, just kind of finding something to talk about while we fly. So I'm going to head back out here and turn around, set up my landing, and go ahead and end the flight. And yeah, I guess we probably need to start thinking about doing a kind of in-depth look at Walksnail as far as setting everything up. I've already answered a few questions about configuration and stuff like that on the previous video, so you can kind of go read the comments on that one if you want. And I've already answered some questions, but if I do a full kind of deeper look at it, deeper dive into it, I'll try to remember to kind of touch on all the most common questions that people are going to have about it. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy this as much as I have. I'm going to go ahead and go back to fly-by-wire and cut my power. Speaking of power and throttle settings, it's probably, I'm kind of noticing right now, kind of getting off track, but I'm noticing we're picking up a 5 mile an hour wind, which is going to be a tailwind if I land from this direction, which I didn't have when I took off. So I was kind of anticipating landing from this direction into the sun, but I'm actually going to go ahead and set up my landing from the other way, which it's actually going to be more of a crosswind, but it should still be fine either way. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and set up a landing from the other direction. But yeah, back to what I was saying as far as power and throttle settings and things like that. I can probably retune some of my like target cruise throttle and max throttle during a climb and stuff like that, now that we've changed the power system, because it seems like we need less power to fly than we did previously with the old system. So I can probably fine tune some of those numbers a bit. But for now, everything looks good and feels good. So we're just going to go ahead and leave it alone for the moment. But yeah, we're going to set up and land. It's pretty much going to be a crosswind either way we land, but it'll be a little bit more off of the nose quarter in this direction than it would be the other direction. And besides, we get a cool shadow to chase on landing from this way. So we'll go ahead and set up this nice little landing. And kind of see the shadow coming into view now. Start leveling off and reducing power for my flare. Try to stretch it out, land by the shop. Close enough, I'll take it. We'll go back to manual and we'll disarm, which should bring up my summary screen and stop the recordings on the transmitter and in the receiver. So we're still recording on the ground now. You can see it's fell back into standby mode, which is exactly what it should do. And I still see that flickering OSD, so I don't think that's an issue with the RF power. Shouldn't be. Well, I don't know. We are in low power mode, so maybe that kind of did it. I don't know. Anyway, kind of rambling on now. So I'll go ahead and end this video. It's going to be a long one, but hopefully it's enjoyable. And thank you all for taking the time to watch it. Hopefully you are impressed with Walksnail, as impressed with it as I am. I am 100% happy with it. Everything about it. I really can't find anything to fault with it. You're going to be seeing more of it on the channel. And of course, I want to thank all of my channel members and Patreon pledges who've made this possible. Like I said before, I bought this system with money from that, and it kind of just makes it all possible. So big thank you and shout out to all of you, and keep an eye out for what's to come in the future. And questions, comments, put them below the video. I'll answer them when I can. I'll see you all in the next one.